everyone. Welcome to a very special Game Informer interview. We have here Jennifer Hale. I know you know her. She's voiced several video game characters, cartoons, everything. She is considered right now the most Guinness Book of World Record, actually, for the most prolific female video game voice actor.
Wow.
Which is crazy.
Did not know that.
You might know her as FemShep from Mass Effect, Ash from Overwatch, and the list goes on and on and on. And she's here with us today because, hey, she is providing her voice for an audiobook for To Sleep in a Sea of Stars by Christopher Polini, who's known for the Aragorn series. So that's pretty awesome. Jennifer, welcome.
Thank you, Kim. It's great to be here. Thank you. Hi, everybody. Hi, Alex.
Hi. So thank you for joining us. I appreciate it. I've been looking forward to this for a while. So very nice to have you. So Kim, if you wanna kick off the questioning.
Well, I mean, Guinness Book of World Records. I mean, where do you go from there? How do you select your roles, and what are you drawn to in certain characters and stories? I feel like now you must have like the cream of the crop with what you can pick.
And when do you sleep? That's my other question.
What's that?
When do you sleep?
Oh, I sleep.
Yeah. Okay.
It's honestly, I'm a working actor. I will take what comes my way. If it's a union job, okay, what time? What time? Do I have room? Great, let's do it. I love to play. I mean, I really, really love to play. I love to work. And, that's the thing about us voice actors is we're just workaday actors. I love it. I love this job. It's amazing.
Do you find that you have that community with those voice actors? Like, are you working a lot with like Troy Baker or Laura Bailey, like these kind of people?
Yeah. These are my people.
Okay.
It's my community, and I love them very, very much. I've been lucky to be in this community a long time, and people like, Dee Baker and Rob Paulson come to mind, and, Laura and Travis and Liam and Sam and Matthew and, Marisha, all those guys, and Taliesin. I've been directed by Taliesin Jaffe, which is amazing. And there's just, we are a community. We're an amazing community. People like, Sarah El Malik, Kari Walgren, Great Delisle. Like, I could go on, like, I'm afraid to name names because I'm going to leave people out, and they're all beautiful, beautiful, wonderful human beings who I adore. Yeah.
For sure.
I'm very lucky. I think I have many of the skills I have and the abilities I have because I've been working around these people my whole life. I learned what I know from them and those who came before, your Frank Welkers, your Tress MacNeils, and then the directors. This is one thing people don't talk about as much, are the voice directors. I mean, again, I don't want to name names because I'm going to leave someone out. They're the ones who have designed and guided like pop culture as we know it today, because so many things are coming out of games and animation now. I mean, Chris Zimmerman, Jenny McSwain, Chris Borders, Amanda White. Oh God, I'm going to leave people out. Like Jamie Moore. There's so many, Colette Thunderman. There's so many people who have helped form the way we enjoy culture today because of this stuff. And I am nothing without all those people.
For sure.
That brings up a good question on, like, I'm sure from us it looks one way, but like, what are some common misconceptions you think people have about voice acting? And like, you commonly see that like it's like, that's not really how it's done, or, that you can kind of clear up for us.
Number one, it's not acting. Number two, it's just talking. It is acting on steroids, and it is far more than just talking. It's, it's complete character development combined with vocal control, combined with this sort of extra tonal requirement of what style of a project am I in? Is this like a Powerpuff Girls kind of a deal? Is this like a Marvel? Is this, what world am I in, and how edgy are we going to go, and how cinematic are we versus how kind of poking fun at ourselves and over the top are we, versus are we like in BioShock Infinite, are we wandering through the world of quantum physics in this barely hanging onto reality space sometimes? Yeah. I mean, so the misconception would be both those two things. It's not acting. And when people say, do you act too? I'm like, no, never.
Did you before you got into the industry?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I went to a fine arts high school. honestly, mostly because I never would have made it through a regular high school. I was the kid that everybody made fun of. I was that kid.
Yeah.
I had the really long list of terrible nicknames.
Oh no.
I went to a fine arts high school just as sort of a sanctuary, and it was amazing. And I didn't know what I played clarinet, but I wasn't good enough at that. I didn't want to use that to get in. So I literally learned a monologue in a parking lot. My mom was in a bar. I was in a parking lot at 1:00 in the morning. We'd just driven into town to Birmingham, Alabama from Cincinnati, Ohio. And I memorized my monologue in the car and then auditioned for the School of Fine Arts the next day and got into the theater program by the skin of my teeth, which is ironic because the monologue was from the skin of our teeth. And, and kind of fell into it that way. And I really fell in love with it when I got my first film audition. That made the most sense to me, that kind of close work. And now, I work closely with the mic. And my first love actually was singing. I started singing at rock clubs when I was 15. And that was awesome. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you would argue though that voice acting is more difficult than acting? Is that because you lose the physicality of acting because you can't rely on some of that?
They all have their requirements. I'm not going to I do all of it, but I'm not going to describe one as more difficult than the other. They all have their demands, It's more, I find it to be more intense. I find it to be, the place the two meet is mocap. Like I've done green screen work for film and I've done mocap, a lot of mocap for games and stuff. And that's kind of where they meet. Although even in games, because it's animated, the physicality has to be that little bit of extra. There has to be something a little bit like theater about the physicality, just a little bit, while typically on a lot of the projects, the voice acting is closer to a cinematic feel. There are different flavors. But, one harder than the other. They have specific demands. I will say that not everybody who does on camera can make the transition to voice acting, and certainly not everybody who does voice acting can make the transition to on camera, but I will say that I will go ahead and take a stand that the voice actors I know are the finest actors I've ever met in my life. Like hands down.
We're talking a little bit about challenge here. So I want to know, of all that you've done, what do you feel has been your most challenging role and why?
This book? No.
That's true. Go ahead.
It's interesting. This was incredibly challenging because I've never done an audiobook before. And for the first one I ever did, I picked one I didn't pick it, but one came to me. The one I did was almost 900 pages.
Oh, wow.
And had 50 different characters. And I have a whole stack of voice memos in my phone that are all the characters from this project. So, because they disappear for 50 pages or 100 pages or 200 pages, and then they come back. And then I have to oh yeah, how does that one sound? And I had to keep it true to form. And also for me learning, what is the vibe for an audiobook? I'm doing a character, but I'm not in an animated series and I'm not in a game. So to go full bore with, doing a crazy rendition of a character is going to throw people out of the book. Just find a line where you're offering a character, but not so much so that it's going to be all about you and your character making, no, thank you. So that was definitely a challenge. And, there are a couple of roles that I've done that are super hard. I'm the stunt Dory. Whenever Ellen's too busy, I'm Dory.
Oh, really?
And, yeah.
Did not know
and that's really hard.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. She's so good at Dory. She's so good. She's so good. So it's super intimidating to go in and be Dory. But I have to say Dory's one of my favorite characters ever because, I think that's how I figured out I might be ADD.
Is there moments in those movies where you're like, that's me, that's Ellen, that's me,
no,
that's
I'm
me?
not in films. The films are 100% Ellen.
Okay, yeah.
I'm the toys, the games, the support materials for that stuff. No, that's all Ellen. That is challenging. God of War. I played a character in God of War. This was a mocap gig. I was Electo. I was a villainess in that one. And I love being villains. I absolutely love them. Villains always believe they're doing the right thing. They just have a different definition of what the right thing is to everybody else. And they think they're miles ahead of everyone. But with her, she traded on her sexuality. And that's not my comfort zone. That's not how I
Mhm.
move through things. And taking that on, and Chris Zimmerman was phenomenal in her direction of that. And so I found that intimidating. But very little else bothers me. I love this job. It's amazing. You know, I long ago got past that thing of making a fool of myself. I'm like, that's my job. So,
You found a way to do it and for it to be acceptable. So
I stopped caring if it's acceptable.
yeah.
In order for one to really express oneself and to live one's life to the fullest of one's soul, you got to stop caring about that stuff.
I need to take this advice.
I was going to say, I'm writing this down.
Everybody write that down right now.
Yeah.
You get one shot. Don't piss it away worrying about what people think.
Mm-hmm.
I'm never looking at YouTube comments again then. This is great.
Oh, I don't ever look.
Yeah.
You know what? That's why there's more than one YouTube video, because they're not all going to be for everybody.
Yep.
I'm your flavor or I'm not your flavor. That's cool. Go find your flavor because they need you. Yeah.
Cool. So going back to your villain comment, when you were recording FemShep back for the Mass Effect games, you seem to have. Did you have more fun playing Renegade over Paragon?
Good question.
You know, I always say, and people may have heard this, that Paragon Shepherd is who I wish I was, and Renegade is what I wish I could say. You know, it's fun. It's fun to say that stuff. It's fun to like tear things apart and just like throw it all away. It's just screw it. It's the epitome of what I just said a minute ago. You get one shot, don't waste it.
Yeah.
You know, I have to say some of my favorite stuff was like the more absurdist stuff, like Powerpuff Girls. I got to play a character called Princess Morbucks, and she's psychotic. And I loved doing that character. We were in the session once, and it started out, I'd have like a paragraph of stuff she'd say. And then after, a few episodes in, they'd write me like a 1.5-page rant.
Yeah.
And I finished one of those, and Tom Kenny looks over and he pokes me in the arm. He goes, "You're red all the way to here." And I was like, and I'm so calm now. Yeah.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Kim?
I mean, going back, our readers will probably be mad if we do not tap more into you playing FemShep and kind of the importance of that role for you, and kind of even like now, how has it been to kind of, do you just embrace that is where people really like, it struck a chord with them, that role? And is it difficult though to kind of step outside of that, or do you like that, like you are so associated with being FemShep from Mass Effect?
I'm honored that I'm associated with being FemShep from Mass Effect. I will always be honored by that. There's so much about that I love. Number one, the writing was incredible.
Yes.
And the project was amazing. And I'm insanely grateful that I got to do that. Like, I will always be insanely grateful. I am honored that it touched people the way it did, because I threw my heart and soul into everything. Just that when things aligned so beautifully, and it was an incredible experience, and it went on for several years. So I evolved, the character evolved, technology evolved, and acting and games evolved all at the same time on this trajectory together. And there's this, I won't go into detail on it, but there's a notion that I really live and work by, which is when you're in touch with the highest and best part of yourself and you bring that to your work, it will go out over the waves and hopefully connect with the highest and best parts of other people, not in a preachy way, but just like the vibe. The vibe is there. And I hope the vibe reaches out and gives people what they need, whatever that is. And so that is a project where I feel like that really came together. Plus getting to break the glass ceiling, like having the words that the male and female characters say be identical.
Yep.
You're a human being. How about that? Look at that. And it was so beautifully timed for where the world was evolving at the time. And now has taken that evolution to the next step. And now it's a given. It's expected. It's looked down. It's frowned upon if it's not there. Like, where is it? Give us that thing that we all need and want now. And representation is happening more and more and more. And I'm insanely proud to be on that train. I will always love that. I know the million crazy people who live in here who can come out and play with anybody on any project at any time, ever. I know who lives here. I don't have a need to prove it because I get opportunities to do it all the time. It's there, and I'm honored. I'm nothing but honored by FemShep and by Mass Effect.
That's amazing.
Yeah. I remember for me, FemShep was just a really iconic, I think, moment. And I was trying to explain it. I think my friends were asking, but they play them the same. I go, that's the point, is that they are not changing these roles and that you can play them both that way. And I mean, the art still for FemShep, just, oh God, it was.
The energy for FemShep, insane. You know, I remember, I think you might enjoy this story then. We were at GameStop for the release of Mass Effect 3 at midnight. And I don't do midnight. I do 5 a.m. like and although lately I'm doing midnight. I don't know if it's the full moon or was probably the full moon. I because of you guys, because of you and people like you emailing BioWare and demanding it, FemShep was on the box. Like you had that reversible cover. And I'll never forget, we had these tables. There were like a row of tables here and a row of tables over there. And Casey Hudson is a very quiet man. He is not like a lot of people fussing over him. That's just not his way. Somebody dropped the FemShep box in front of me with the cover turned around the other way. And I was like, oh, and I stood up on the table like John Cusack and whatever that movie is over his head. And I held the box up over my head and I stood on top of the table. I got up and stood on the table. And because the room was full, and I was like, Casey Hudson, thank you. And he was like, oh my God. Like, and to this day, when I see that box, especially like the metal version, I'm just like, I don't have pictures of my characters up in my office. I just never, that's not my vibe. That's not my thing. I'm about the now and, what's next? Where we grow into now, But I have the FemShep box on my wall because to break the glass ceiling in that way and to be honored, to be allowed to be the one who was the ink in the tip of that pen, because it's just the ink, right? There's all these people and things behind it. It wasn't me. I was definitely a part of it, but there's a huge machine that made all that happen. And that was the fans too. It was everybody's energy coming in and going, we need this now. Representation, Oh, so yeah, I love it. That's the short way. I love it.
Yeah. Was there a certain point when you guys knew FemShep was different than other, not necessarily different or better than other female characters, but like you had captured something in the zeitgeist, and like from there, did you get to play with the role? Did Casey, did those guys give you the freedom to say, this is how I would do it, that type of thing?
No, that doesn't happen on BioWare projects for technical reasons. Mm-hmm. There's 2 questions in there. I'll answer the technical question first. Because of the software and like recording the voice is technically a small part. It's a critical part, but it's a small part of the massive picture they have to take care of, the way they do things. And with their projects, if I differentiated practically with punctuation, it had to be to the letter to what was on that page. And my job was to bring it to life with the letters in front of me. And that's really specific to their technology. And that's my job. I don't mind that at all. That's what we do. So there's no improvising there. Other projects, like I remember on BioShock Infinite, Oliver and I got to record at the same time. We were in different spaces, but we could see each other through the glass. And we would work off of each other because we could make eye contact and play. And Ken would we'd do a scene, then we'd go back and we'd do another take and just play with it. And we could do whatever we wanted in that take. And that was delightful. But there was another piece of what you asked me. Oh, did we know? I never look at things that way. I can't look at what kind of project is this going to be. I can't, because that's not the reality that the person I'm inhabiting is living in. My job is to live 1,000% in the reality of the human being or sentient being that I'm in, or maybe not sentient, I don't know, the spore mold that I'm being that day. Like I have to live in that reality, because if I don't, I cheat you guys. People enjoy playing these roles because we have a visceral experience. When you're playing something and you're like, oh yeah, that was really well done. You're not engaged on a gut level. Mm-hmm. And often I think that happens because whoever was in it for whatever reason wasn't engaged on a gut level during that take. Maybe there was something technically going on, and another take they were, but that's not what ended up in the game. if I'm engaged at a gut level on every take I can possibly manage, like in it 100,000,000%, then you're going to have an experience. You're not just going to play a game. You're going to have an experience. And that's mine to add to the mix. Mm-hmm.
So this might be a little silly here, but if you are fully if you are fully inhabiting the character, who would you have romanced as FemShep?
My answer to that, don't make me pick. As few as that is. I will say there were a couple of like in particular, I remember we were doing the goodbyes and the Garrus goodbyes. I had trouble getting through them. It's funny. It reminds me of doing the book, To Sleep in a Sea of Stars. There were 4 points toward the end of the book where I had to stop because it got me, and I had, so those are the ones that I remember when we were doing Mass Effect, the Garrus stuff. I had to stop, and Caroline Livingstone was directing that day remotely from Edmonton. I was in LA, and I choked, and I thought, Shepard does not cry. So I took a minute, stuffed it down, said what I needed to say, or said what was on the page. And I was waiting. Caroline would normally come back on and go, okay, we're going to take A, or we're going to take B, or we're going to do it again. And there was dead silence. And I was like, oh, did we lose the connection? What happened? That's all I heard for a minute was that. And I said, Caroline, I heard, yeah, hold on. And I was like, yes, got her too.
That's incredible. You got me too in those moments. I can't imagine, especially for Mass Effect 2, recording the suicide mission lines. I'd be a wreck. I don't know how you did it.
It's like people cope. One of my favorite acting teachers ever was an amazing man named Jeff Corey. He did a lot of sci-fi stuff. He was actually blacklisted in the McCarthy area. He was amazing. And one day an actor was up on stage. This was like in Atlanta somewhere. And this kid was emoting away. And I was like, oh my God. I was like 20 or something. I was like, wow, he's really going for it. I was like, wow, look at that. And Jeff Corey stops him dead in his tracks. He goes, God damn it, people. And I was like, uh-oh, Jeff's mad. And he goes, real human beings do not set out to have emotions. They set out to have experiences in the course of which they have emotions that they don't want to have. And I was like, oh my, I still get chills thinking about it. I'm like, yeah, okay, let's try that again. Never mind.
That's really good. Yeah.
Not about me, the actor. It's about the human being I'm playing. Oh, got it.
Talking about like an iconic role, like how FemShep was at the time, and we talked about a little bit here, but have you noticed like the depth of the roles of the female characters you're offered has kind of changed throughout the year from when you started like your career?
The depths and the clothes. Yeah. They actually get clothes that would cover them in a battle, which is really cool. And they're not falling out of their upper armor, which is fantastic. Because there's a woman that's really annoying. Even if you are well endowed, you're going to pack that stuff in and go to work. No. Yes, it's women as leaders, women as knowledgeable scientific professionals, women as people coping with life, women as incidental characters. I always advocate, and I'm going to do it right now. I'm going to look right in the camera. Every writer, every producer, every director, every casting professional out there, unless somebody's talking specifically about their anatomy, take the gender off. Take the ethnicity off, take the gender off. It's a human being. Open the gates. You will be delightfully surprised. So, and that includes things like, the parent of the kid in the scene. Maybe it's the dad, because we have so many dads now, taking on the time, right? We have, we have women in, but I don't want to do to men what was done to women. We absolutely need to level the playing field, but I don't want to leave the men behind because we were left behind.
Yeah.
We are all better than that now, and it's not time for that anymore. That's just more of the same. Like, we're all coming along. We're all going to find a spot because there's plenty of room.
Yeah, most definitely. On that level, like going off of Kim's question, is there in recent years, are there performances or characters that you specifically went like, that's something. Like that's the one.
Let me understand the question more fully.
So-
That's the one to
so-
move things forward, or that's the one I want to do?
Or like that's the one that like for me that was Laura Bailey and Ashley Johnson in Last of Us 2. Like absolutely two of the best video game voiceover performances I've ever seen. Like
Yep,
do you
all the work.
Yeah.
Laura is astonishing. She takes my breath away.
Yeah.
Ashley is unbelievable. I mean, the generation of women, I guess I can say coming up, but they've been doing it for a long time.
Yeah.
Long before people knew who they were. They're incredible. They've put in their time. I mean, the generation of women, they blow my mind. There's Ashley, there's Laura, there's Ashley Birch, there's Sarah Elmale, there's Kari Waldron, there's Erin Yvette. There's so many. And they're all astonishing. And the men too, like we're raising the bar for each other. And what I'm most taken by is everybody's passion for this. Everybody's passion to raise the bar. Everybody's passion to do it better. The inspiring thing that Travis and everybody with Critical Role did by taking back their creative property and owning it themselves. Like that's the story I want to tell. That's the interview I want to hear. How did they do that? Because, this one of my passions is money. I love money. I think money is a phenomenal tool and a phenomenal representation of energy in the world. I don't care about amassing it. Well, I shouldn't say that. I love the idea of amassing it because what you can do with it is unbelievable. You can feed people, you can change people's lives, you can educate people, you can heal people, you can do all kinds of stuff. That's what I love. Money's incredible. But there's a conversation about money in the culture that operates that we're not even aware of, which is you're either creative or you're good with money, which gives us a world where we have the people with all the money who we don't perceive to be creative making bean counter decisions that shut down the creatives, and then all these creative people who can't fulfill and can't adult and can't have power in the world. Like I want to break that in half. Like that's ridiculous. Imagine a world where all the creative, first of all, where all these people who are perceived to be not creative are respected and honored for the creativity that does live in them. And number two, where the creative people have money and power and can influence things like public policy, things like where we go, things like how we take care of each other, things like the way our cities are designed and moved. And like, that's amazing. And what they did on Critical Role was a phenomenal step in that direction.
And it worked. And it's one of the most popular internet things in the world right now.
It is because it tied into people loving it. And they did it as a group who take care of themselves and take care of each other. And they're all insanely talented and beautifully talented. And, that's another thing I offer up to people is when you see that incredible talent out there, stop. Don't go down the road of, why don't I have that? Or I wish I had that, or I should have that. Stop. And remember to say, awesome. Well done. I can't wait to express my own. I'm not envious. I'm inspired. I'm not shut down. I'm going to go to work. I'm going to sit and play and listen and see what mine is, because there's some out here for everybody, and let's all take our lives in our hands and go to it.
It's hard to follow that up with a question.
I was going to say.
Okay, let's talk about food or puppies or dirt. My favorite thing.
There you go. I want to hear your kind of experience and process with Sarah Palmer from Halo, especially with Halo Infinite on people's minds again, and people maybe brushing up on their Halo rapport and lore. Like, what was that character like?
It was really, really fun. That's one of the roles I got to do mocap for, and I love that. And I got to do that with Travis and Lauren, those guys, and like, it was awesome. Another strong woman, it was part of the strong woman wave that came in, and to be part of an iconic universe like Halo. I mean, come on. And I love Jen Taylor. To get to spend the day with Jen Taylor is awesome. It was phenomenal. It was one of the things I like about her is, she is who she is, but she has this sense of humor where she likes to mess with people. That's my favorite angle of that character. I just love it.
Fantastic. You gonna blink twice if you're gonna do some lines for an upcoming game Sponsored by Microsoft, you know? No, 343.
I can't give anything away either way.
I had to shoot my shot, you know? Yeah.
Nothing.
Yeah.
And truly don't.
Yeah.
There's such a time gap between the time we lay this stuff down and the time it comes out. I literally have forgotten.
Yeah.
Because I kind of Men in Black myself in a way. I'm like, oh, I don't remember a thing. Or anything. I remember when I did Ash, Overwatch, I had recorded the character, I recorded the cinematics with Matt and stuff, and was really, really excited about it. We had so much fun recording that. Andrea Toyas, another amazing director. We just had such a good time, but I was on lockdown in terms of speaking about it. I was at a convention a few months before with all the Overwatch people, and everybody was nuts over the Overwatch people. And I was like, oh yeah, I knew I was coming out in the game. I was like, nope, not saying anything. And my friend, Erin Fitzgerald, she was at BlizzCon on the Friday, and she's texting me going, I'm hearing you in this trailer. And I was going to be at BlizzCon on the Saturday. And I was like, she's like, is this you? And I was like, how's the weather? I wouldn't answer. I finally got my agents to email them and say, I was like, am I allowed? Because people are asking me and I don't know. And they finally emailed back and they're like, go ahead. I was like, okay, it's me.
You've said in the past that you're not really a gamer, right?
No, I'm an awful gamer. No.
Has that changed at all through the years, or did you ever still try to play some of the games you're in?
I only played once when Tom Bissell, who's a phenomenal writer, he did a piece. He did a piece for the New Yorker about me, which I was so blown away by. But part of it was he made me play Mass Effect, which I was not blown away by. But because I'm horrible at playing, and because when I record, I have as much context as the director can give me. I have as many details as possible to kind of create the scene in my head. But I mean, I might do anywhere from 2 to 4 takes and it goes to market. And it might be take 1 that goes to market. So when I hear it back, I'm like, I'm seeing all these other details in this environment. If I'd have known that and that, I'd have added this piece to it, or I'd have done that, so it would make me crazy. So I will sit with my kid while he plays Minecraft or Roblox or Rocket League. I like that.
Very nice. What would you tell people? Because now I think with what you talked about with Critical Role, with that community of voice actors who are now taking their own stardom, taking their own talent into their own hands, what would you say to people who are looking to get in this industry? Because it's not easy. What would your advice be to them?
I have a few pieces of advice, a couple of which will offend the snot out of some people. Number 1, grow up. And I mean by that, you have to become 2 people. You have to be the creative self, which is your little kid self, which just plays and, whether it's drawing, painting, creating, building, speaking, acting, pretending, singing all day. And you have to be an adult. And that adult is the patron who makes the money for, who creates the opportunities for, and who adults so that this one can have opportunities and a path forward. This one has a job that this one may or may not love, but it provides the opportunity for this one to create, a day job or whatever you have to do. Don't listen to know your craft. Practice your craft every day you can. Don't beat yourself up. Stop with the perfectionistic rule thing. I mean, I hate to even give rules because everything I say is BS because you're going to have your own path. But if you are looking for, number 1, stop looking for external guidance. Number 2, listen to mentors. It's all contradictory, right?
Right.
But have common sense. Trust. This is the number 1. Trust your gut. Number 2, be good to yourself at all times. Number 3, be good to others at all times. And do something with your craft every day that's not about the results. It's just the joy of the craft. And then do something every day that's about building the craft. Like for a voice actor's, D. Baker does the most brilliant thing. He'll read out loud. He'll read a book out loud while he walks his dog. I'm like, do people follow you and listen? He got that, I think, from Kath Soucie, who is a goddess. Oh, I always say read out loud for just 2 minutes a day. Don't put the pressure on yourself for 10 or 15 minutes. Maybe you don't feel like it. Maybe start with 2 minutes and you get into something. You know, like I'm trying to learn how to play the piano because I write songs and I need more tools. Or I'd like more tools. And oh my God, some days I'm like, oh, I'm so bad at this. I have no patience for myself. I'm like, you know what? Just go through it once. Let it be whatever it is. Take the pressure off. Because over here in the kid self, you take the pressure off. Over here in the where you're adulting, you're like, I got structure. I got things to do. I got a place where I can respect myself, make my way, and not drag people down. And it's never about you. Stop thinking. If you can find ways to stop freaking thinking, you will fly. Because like pursue silence like you pursued chocolate or chips or whatever your thing is. Like just for a minute or two a day, just every time that thing comes in. I heard a brilliant I don't know, analogy, exercise, what I don't know what you call it. From one of my mentors the other day. She said, you know, when thoughts come in, she imagined them as sort of bugs on her windshield. Let's just say when the car's at a standstill. And she pops on the windshield wipers and just swipes them away. You don't get into what, how, why, because that's more thinking. You just just stop it. It's a great Bob Newhart video on YouTube. Bob Newhart was brilliant. Called Stop It. This woman goes to therapy and listen, I love therapy. I think therapy is really important for artists. And then there's a time when you just stop. And so I will right now.
I feel like this is everything I needed to hear.
Good. We're all just humans trying to sort it out, trying to
right?
Figure our way.
I feel really inspired. I want to write everything down and hang it on my wall that you've said in the last couple of minutes. Oh my God. Oh, incredible. Kim, do you have any more questions?
Well, let's get into a little bit To Sleep in a Sea of Stars by Christopher Paolini, that you're doing your first audiobook for, and kind of talk to us about, you know, how you got involved with the project, what you found compelling, what it's about. It's maybe 3 questions in one. Sorry to do that. It all just came at me.
I have to be aware of spoiler alerts.
Okay.
Spoiler opportunities in this book. I loved it. I loved the book. I loved doing it. I didn't know I would love audiobooks, and now I do, but maybe I've gotten spoiled because my first is a Christopher Paolini book. I don't know. It's like my first cartoon series was Where on Earth is Carmen Sandiego. I got spoiled big time. That was my first cartoon job. And now this is my first audiobook. I'm like crazy lucky. I love this book. I really do. It's epic in scope. I think, you know, gamers who love sci-fi and big universes are going to love this book. It also has that intimate feel because you're in spaceships, right? Because you're in space and you're in a small community, and he really captured that dynamic of people living together in close quarters, and that edge and that bit of humor you have to get by, like, and then the epicness of what's happening in the story. I don't want to give anything away. I met Christopher several years ago at a convention in Australia. Anytime I get offered a convention in parts of the world I love, I'm like,
yeah, you take it.
Don't tell my booking agent that. He'll be mad. But we met in Australia, and he mentioned that he had a book that he wanted me to read one day. He was going to finish it, and I thought, oh, that's cool. And then lo and behold, he followed through, and he got a hold of me a couple months ago and said, I'm doing this, and I don't know if you'd consider it. And I said, I've never done an audiobook. This was like Twitter. We connected through Twitter. And then his business people got together with my business people, and they worked it all out. And I jumped in, and I was actually building this studio at the time. I moved into a house that did not have a studio and didn't have carpenters and stuff available for the longest time. So my brother-in-law and my nephews just helped me so much. And we tore the walls apart, rebuilt it with all the stuff inside you need, and then put the walls back together. And then I was able to get some professionals to help come in. But a lot of this work I did myself rushing. Like I'm looking up because I have these things called ceiling clouds. And we built these in my brother-in-law's garage and hung them up. And like I was scrambling to get everything finished in time to start this book. And now that we're done, I'm going back and everything sounds good. Now I'm trying to make it all look the way I want it to look, you know, getting the fabric I like instead of just the foam patches on the wall. But that's how I came to do the book. And it was quite the process. If you're driving across country, this is the book. It's 32 and a half hours. It's epic. And there are amazing things like appendices having to do with subluminal and superluminal space and FTL and STL travel and quantum mechanics, and it's amazing. Yeah.
You've done a lot of sci-fi. Are you a big sci-fi fan yourself?
Oh my God, yes. I love sci-fi. I love sci-fi. I love the epic nature of it. I love, actually, Christopher and I had an amazing conversation about this a couple days ago about optimism and how that lives in sci-fi so beautifully, because you can throw your hat over the wall and you can imagine the future and everything's going to be okay. And we were talking about, have you guys seen the Orville, Seth MacFarlane show?
No.
Aware of it, but I haven't seen it. No.
I love it. It's such an homage to sci-fi, and it's just got his vibe, and it hits this tone. It doesn't take itself too seriously, and yet it manages to communicate some really deep stuff. And I love that show. And the season finale of the first season, the last episode of the first season, made me feel okay about humanity and like our entire future, because it was just like it took place a few hundred years in the future. And when you look at a timeline that long, like everything's going to be fine, you know? Whereas right now we're like, it's a dumpster fire. These people are crazy. Well, you're crazy. No, you're crazy. It's like, you know, and you're like, in a few hundred years, going to be okay. Yeah.
That's amazing.
I love sci-fi for that. That's one of the many reasons why. Plus the creativity, the insane amounts of creativity. I watched, I shared the original Star Wars trilogy with my son this year, and just watching what they did in that, and the insane creativity, and hearing the stories and knowing the stories of how it all came together, and it's just like, man, it's so cool.
Is there a genre you haven't tapped into that you'd like to do more work in?
Something where I can sing and ride a horse and work with my friends.
I like. There's a couple of things in there. Yeah, maybe in whatever Red Dead comes back, we can work on that. Yeah.
I love on-camera stuff as well, especially when I get to work with my friends. Like Dave Hayter, his movie Wolves. It stars Jason Momoa, and I got to have a small role in that, and just to fly up there where they were shooting and hang out with my friend and work on my friend's movie was just like heaven. Yeah. Sitting through special effects didn't bother me. I was like, freezing at 4:00 in the morning bothered me a lot less because it was Dave's movie.
Yeah.
Has the current quarantine kind of changed how you do your job or any special things you've had to consider that you haven't before in this unique time?
I'm strictly working from home until I know a lot more about this. I'm humble in the face of this organism. Look, the planet sent us this as a big smackdown, just to go to our rooms and think about what we've done. So I'll be hanging out in my space, and I'll be thinking about how I can, move along and do better. I work from home now, strictly 100%. I had to build a studio really quickly. And I had some amazing support doing that, which was great. I miss seeing my friends. I miss seeing my peers, but we're catching up on Zoom. We're catching up on other platforms where, I kind of love, because I'm a mom, and I'm a single mom, and I love being a mom to my kid. I won the kid lottery. Like, he's he's an amazing human being. And I get to do things like, put him to bed and run in here and hang out with my friends for a visit, in the next room. So I couldn't do that before. That's kind of awesome. I get to do things like, I'll be in the middle of a session, I'll run and get a glass of water, and I have the house where all the kids come and trash the place. And I'll be like, hey guys, okay, I gotta go. And I'll run back out to the booth. And I do love that. I kind of love that in this time, instead of everybody going to the mall, look, there's a million things about this time that are incredibly hard. We all know those are. But I also think, or I should say, we're not all going to the mall to hang out and consume and do things where the locus is outside of ourselves of what matters. We're really focused back on what matters inside of ourselves, and we're checking on each other and our community, and how can we support each other, and how can we move, how can we take care of each other, and is everybody okay? And I think that's a really important check-in. It's, like we had the Planet White, you need to check yourself. I'm like, oh, okay. Okay. And how we define success. I think this is an amazing opportunity to sit back and go, you know what? What of that really mattered?
Well, Kim, any more questions? I know I'm blown away. This has been my favorite, one of my favorite interviews. Yeah,
this has been a great interview.
Yeah.
Thank you. I love it.
Yeah, this is fantastic. Yeah. I mean, Jennifer, if there's anything else you want to say, or we didn't give you a chance to say, feel free.
I would add this: To Sleep in a Sea of Stars is a phenomenal book. I cannot believe it was my first audiobook I got to do. It's 32 and a half hours of amazing fun and experiences on a galactic scale, and sit back and throw it on over dinner. Enjoy yourself. Yeah.
Awesome. And when is it out?
I think September 15th.
September 15th.
Yeah.
Get the audiobook so you could hear Jennifer.
Yeah. And I don't know if I may be involved. We're talking about some music around it. We'll see.
Oh, nice.
I released a song,
Fantastic.
my own song. I want to say July 10th, I think I put it out. So there's a possibility. We're talking about possibly doing some stuff around this, which would be fun.
Nice.
Yeah, the song is Never. It's on all the platforms. So yeah, check it out.
Fantastic.
Yeah. Thank you so much for your time.
Yes,
we really appreciate it. This has been a very enlightening interview. Seriously.
Oh, my pleasure. My absolute pleasure, you guys.
Yeah.
Delightful to hang out with you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Awesome. If you want more Game Informer content, we've been doing a lot more interviews. We have stuff up from The Last of Us, from Ghost of Tsushima. Obviously, this one. If you're interested and excited about what we're doing, head over to GameInformer.com or YouTube.com/GameInformer and subscribe. We're going to be doing a lot more of this kind of stuff. So thank you for joining us. This has been a lot of fun. We'll see you guys next time.